Being a Day Player, Video 4. In the previous video, I talked about a practical problem. The director has just given you a note. Perhaps he wants the scene slower, less aggressive, more hesitant. Whatever the note may be, the performance you carefully prepared may no longer be appropriate, and you have perhaps 30 seconds before the second rehearsal. No time for discussion, no workshop exploration, no leisurely search for a psychological justification. You simply have to adjust, and do so in a way that remains usable and professional. This is where technique becomes your survival toolkit. You need to understand what is happening around you at this moment. As a featured artist, you may be being paid quite a lot of money for the day, perhaps for only a few minutes of screen time. But those few minutes involve a very expensive machine. Director, camera department, sound, lighting, script supervisor, assistant directors, making a crew of up to 100 people whose working day is moving forward whether you are ready or not. On set, in a production like this, the actor is still very much of secondary importance, even at the second rehearsal. Sure, the director is looking to see if the note has been incorporated, but also, is the boom shadow problem now solved? Is the key light over the desk on the actor from the correct angle now? Etc., etc., etc. There is no place for panic. You need a clear head and a calm approach. As I suggested in video 3, using the director's own words as a mantra running through your head can help enormously with interpretation. But here are 6 additional practical techniques you can use immediately. I will now demonstrate these using a very simple line of 3 words. Now get out. Notice there is no please or other nicety. Does this mean that it is aggressive? Not necessarily. That depends on you, the actor. Now, when preparing, you decided on aggressive, dominating, powerful. Now get out. After the first rehearsal, the director comes up to you and says, the character has suffered several humiliating defeats, and what has just happened is the last straw, and now all he wants is to be alone. So now you have to change what you do to align with that. Now, get out. So now get out has taken on a whole new meaning. By using the techniques I'm about to outline, I have been able to instantly change what the camera reads. This is the reality of life on set. So, what are those techniques? They are a vocabulary which you can call on when needed. Technique number 1, stillness. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It's the absence of unnecessary movement. If you roll back and watch the first demonstration, you will see a total stillness, giving the impression of strength and power. Technique number 2, control of movement. And Lecoq said, a movement, or a gesture, is a journey from one moment of stillness to another. Now, without those moments of stillness, the movement means nothing, or rather simply does not read. Roll back again and watch the second demonstration. There is quite a lot of movement, but it is not uncontrolled. However, those moments of stillness between the movements are read by the camera. Technique number 3, pauses. A pause is where the camera sees the mind working. Go back to the first demonstration. The pause is at the beginning. A steady look, determination, power. Roll on to the second one, and the pause is now in a different place, after the now, accompanied by breathing out, which I will talk about in a moment. The sense of defeat is overwhelming. Technique number 4, breathing. Now, this is the invisible moment beneath the visible performance, and it is your most valuable tool. It controls everything, and when you control your breathing, you control everything. Examples. Breathe in before the line, breathe out before the line. Okay? I've had it with you. I've had it with you. Another example. Breathe in before a gesture, breathe in after a gesture. I've had it with you. 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 Breathe in during a pause in the sentence. I'd like to get this finished. This week. I'd like to get this finished. This week. Now compare the breathing patterns in the two demos and how much they control what we, as the audience, take away from the acting performance. Technique number 5, using meaningful gestures. Now, beware of parasitical gestures. These are those gestures which have no psychological or rational justification. On stage, they are distracting. On screen, they are fatal. A gesture must have purpose. Also, on screen, they will create a nightmare for the editor, which I will discuss in the next video. Technique number 6, camera proximity, or less is more. What few actors seem to understand is the personal space element when it comes to screen acting. The most usual shot is the mid-shot, which I am using here. Take a look at the screen. When are you ever that close to someone in real life, particularly a stranger? If you were on the bus and someone got that close, you would get off at the next stop. So there is the long shot, a conversation across a parking lot, for example, full-length conversation in a living room, mid-shot, conversation with someone physically close to you, a close-up, which is essentially nose to nose. So why less is more? Frankly, because if it's a mid-shot, you are seriously in the viewer's personal space, and the slightest movement has an eloquence and a resonance that is highly exaggerated by the proximity. A simple swallow, for example, can transmit a myriad of emotional messages if used judiciously. So try it. Go back through the video, note down the 6 techniques. If you have a friend, so much the better. Choose a line and play around with what happens when you change things, applying the 6 techniques. Ordinary phrases. I'd like some coffee and a piece of cake. Using these techniques, there are an infinite number of possibilities. Here are a few. I'd like some coffee and a piece of cake. I'd like some coffee and a piece of cake. I'd like some coffee and a piece of cake. I'd like some coffee and a piece of cake. Take a simple line, and as I say, if you can work with a friend, so much the better. Choose an interpretation and use the techniques to create the impression you want. Then have your friend give you a note which totally changes that interpretation, and give yourself 30 seconds to adapt. Learn to do that consistently, and you will walk onto that set with a confidence that will radiate, because you know that whatever happens, you can deal with it. To watch these techniques being used by 2 absolute masters of the craft, check out the restaurant scene with Pacino and De Niro in the film Heat. You can find it on YouTube. Watch very carefully, paying attention to every moment. Pause, rewind a few frames, watch again, study the techniques being employed in detail. You will see how every microsecond is exploited to the fullest using one or more of these techniques.